All right.
Hey, welcome everybody. Welcome back to Unprofessional Therapy. I almost forgot what it was called. This is where we talk about our no degrees, just decades, and we help each other out. And we're a couple old fart Gen Xers, and we just like to help each other out. My name's Brad,
I'm Michael.
and today it's kind of an emergency situation, but not. Got an interesting message over the last few weeks or a couple days ago. Help.
Yeah.
And
I think the title for this one is just "Shut Up and Listen." Um,
oh,
here's
so
here
tell
was
me.
here's the intent. The intent was to catch this, to actually film one of these or record one of these mid meltdown, and that's impossible to do. Hopefully, because
And a
it's
bad
never going to be
idea
a
sometimes.
meltdown if I've got you there or somebody to talk to.
Hmm.
But this takes a little bit of setup, so let me get to it. About a week ago, a little over a week, 2 weeks ago, I went on a family excursion with friends, and we went exploring a cave in Tucson. I bring this up because I only got probably, I don't know, 10 yards into the cave before my claustrophobia took over. And I just freaked the frick out and told the told the tour guide, like, I believe I need an escort back to the cave as soon as I lost sunlight. Anyhow, okay. That was just
Mm,
one. This It plays into this a little bit later
right.
on. The next week, during the week, I told you I play games. That doesn't matter. I mean, play Magic the Gathering or whatever. Had a series of horrible, bad, poor experiences on Arena, which is designed to prey upon. I think all social media is designed to prey upon people's weaknesses or control people.
Mm,
We'll talk about that another time.
hmm.
I then played a game in paper with friends that went poorly. So this is during the
I'm sensing a
video call.
pattern.
Yeah. Well, so here is where we get to the point of the story, and we'll talk about why we went back in a minute. I was supposed to meet some other content creators. A much larger content creator had invited smaller content creators in the area. One of them, in turn, invited me to come meet them at a local game shop, which is about a 45-minute to an hour drive for me, but it doesn't matter. Invited me to show up and play a couple of games of Commander before a larger pre-release tournament that was going to happen that night.
Cool.
So you would think so, wouldn't you? But
I'm setting you up.
here's what happened. I got there and had a meltdown. There did not see the person, neither the person that invited me nor the person who was there as larger draw had invited internet
The
Facebook,
big
not
man.
Facebook. Yeah, the big guy that was supposed to be there that was announcing this on Instagram.
Hmm.
Didn't see him there. I go into the store. There's confusion because there's a pre-release happening. There's confusion behind the counter because new employees were there. Nothing to do with me, but new employees there, and they had their system had gone down halfway. Like one of their computers wasn't working. All of this stuff just skyrocketed into well, I said a meltdown, a panic attack. However, I don't have the correct words for what happened. I'm just going to say meltdown. Um, and so, yeah, so there you go. This is what happened to me.
Wow.
And so now my imposter syndrome, my just four alarm, everything happened. Like I said, now we
Mm,
go back to a
fight
week
or flight.
before where the claustrophobia was like a thing, and I panicked and I had to leave
Hmm.
family and stuff like so. Like all of those things just hit me all at once.
Wow.
Horrible, absolutely horrible.
Wow.
I'll go on with the story from there, but what is your general sense of
Well,
that, or what would you have to say, or what
well,
would you
it's
notice about that?
well. First off, I mean the pattern of negative, 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 and it just compounded on you. Um, I'm curious as to why the big man and your friend didn't even show up, because that would irritate me. We'll get there in a minute. Um, that would irritate me. I mean, I don't know how upset I would be. It could be many things, but you kind of described. I pictured this as a movie. The end of the movie where it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse, but then the hero comes and saves the day. So, do you have the hero story?
Okay, so the hero story, the completion of it was, I knew what was happening. I felt it. Obviously, I'm upset.
Hmm.
I feel it or whatever. We had talked a little bit, and you've talked about this before about recognizing things when they're happening
Hmm.
and taking a little bit of agency over that. And so that's what I did. Instead of just freaking out, hopping in the car and just heading back, I'm like, I'm really uncomfortable. I'm super upset, but you know what? I'm going to sit with this for a little bit.
Hmm.
I'm going to go get some food and I'm going to let some time pass. Maybe my friends will show up. Um, maybe things will be sorted out, and I'm gonna sit here with his feelings and feel them. Just do that.
What else can you do? Yeah.
So, I mean, the other thing I could do is just panic, just bolt, just hop in the car and
Yeah. Yeah.
just straight back home. That was the other thing. I wasn't going to do that. So I sat down. I ate. I did a little bit of. I didn't do research. I checked into Instagram is what I did, and saw in fact that the main guy that was supposed to be there had shown up, was filmed himself in the parking lot 30 minutes prior to me being there. So clearly he
Hmm.
was there.
Hmm.
Um, and so I was like, okay, well, he's here. So
Hmm.
I'm just not going to freak out. I'll go back. I'll look and see if I can find him. And if he's there, surely the other content creator will be there too.
Hmm.
Um, so I'm going to say there is no hero moment in this story, but I will say that later on, this only lasted hours, where in the past it could have lasted
Right.
days or whatever. There is still a
That's
residual.
progress.
There's progress and stuff, but there's a little bit of residue that's left over,
Hmm.
and so on. But I felt much better because, because I didn't bolt. We talked about this. Well, we talked about this in episode 0. Well,
Hmm.
we will address that at some point or we won't. But we talked about in that one small successes. We talked about the
Right.
fact that you have to build on the little stuff.
Right.
So in the end, this
And
felt like
acknowledging that it's happening is like the first thing that has to be done.
that has to be
And
done
that's
for
and
sure.
that was your biggest first big step, and
Yeah.
then
So
not
from
bolting was
there,
your second big step.
I went back. I didn't see him. If I was a different kind of person, and this is something I can't beat myself up for, if I was a
Mhm.
different type of person, I would have asked people. I would have jumped in there and said, "Hey,
Mm.
where is so and so? What's happening? Whatever." I
Mhm.
could not do that. I was in too fragile a state to,
And you
man.
felt like
Notice
you
how I've got
felt
my
that was
arms
your
covered. I'm doing self-soothing stuff right
oh,
now.
yeah.
Anyhow, um, I did look to see if he was there. So we'll back up just a little bit. So the problem
Mhm.
with this was, I don't even think the people that extended the invitation realized how things were going to be there. Didn't know
Oh,
the chaos that was going to be in the store. There was not a solid plan to me
he
say,
was just going to show up. It was like a
I'm going to be here at this time. Where are you going to be? We're going to meet. We're going to do this thing.
yeah.
It was all very loose. Um, Usually I'm okay with loose. Not this time. But
Something triggered you, huh?
yeah, exactly. Just a whole bunch of things stacked on top of each other. So I've wanted other stressors that came along afterwards.
Mhm.
Um, that same day, we had company coming in, not to visit with us, but to visit with other family members. But we
Mhm.
were left to fend for them, to act as
Right.
intermediaries,
Host
and so on.
them.
So there were things like that or whatever. I try to keep those separate, but those were obviously in the back of my mind and
And then
so on.
yeah.
That's why I wanted to talk about this. In a perfect
Yeah.
world, I would have called you the second I got
Oh,
back.
yeah, we'd have been on the phone, yeah.
For
Now,
sure.
I have a question for you because number one, I'm sure you've talked to your wife about this, right?
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
am so
So
lucky.
this
Yeah.
is the first time you've talked about it outside your wife.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel?
Better for
That's
sure.
what I wanted to hear.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it helps dissipate. A lot of times people feel for actual professional therapy, I think
Mhm.
people feel like, what good is that going to do? Just talking to somebody. Who cares? You talking about people. What difference does that make?
A ton.
Until you've experienced it, you just don't know how
Yeah.
much of a relief and even if there isn't something, and that's why I said at the beginning, just shut up and listen. A lot of times, just having somebody to vent to, you don't want to get in the habit of just burdening people with your stuff.
Mhm.
So there's a fine line there. Again, we're
Yeah.
unprofessional. I don't have the terminology for that, but you don't want to just unload on people. But talking to somebody, having somebody say even that your feelings are valid,
Yeah.
makes such a huge difference.
I'm trying not to do the funny part.
Go right ahead.
No.
For us,
No.
we can do that. We're
Yeah,
unprofessional.
that's the thing. And see, that's the thing about being unprofessional is I can say, I forget what I was even going to say. Oh, your feelings aren't valid.
They aren't. No, no. I'm a big old crybaby, I guess. That's fine. See, I can
See,
take that from you. Somebody else that I don't
if a
know.
therapist said that to you, it would break you.
Yes, yes. Absolutely.
That's why that's what talking about this, talking about the just getting it out there. I totally feel it because with my isolation, not really isolated, by working at night here
Mhm.
and that kind of stuff. I don't have much communication with people during the day, my
Mhm.
night. And you're one of them that I can talk to sometimes when you're not busy, which I
Right.
have a handful of people, and a lot of times you're all busy at the same time. So when I do get one of you, y'all get word vomit,
You get the whole thing.
and I feel so much better after that
That's good.
every single time.
That's good.
It just helps.
Yeah.
I can talk to my wife, but she only gets about 80% of what I'm saying, and she doesn't quite understand the depth of what I'm trying to put out there.
Yeah.
So, and that's not because
Well,
she's stupid, it's because English is not her first language.
there's that. So that's what I was going to ask you without being indelicate. I was going to ask
No,
you, is there cultural differences that make a difference there? Or
I don't
is
think
it
it's different. I don't think it's cultural. I think it's personality.
okay?
And I think it derives from upbringing,
Okay.
but as far as culture goes, she's not as into the culture of Thailand as much as some people are. She's think of it as a person who in the US isn't Christian or Catholic or any super religion, but they follow the
Mm.
basic traditions of America.
Right.
So she does. She's
Okay.
not hardcore Buddhist, she's not hardcore Muslim. She's there. She will go to a Buddhist temple. She will do the traditional stuff. But I think it's with her upbringing, her personality is just she doesn't prioritize. Our priorities are different in that aspect, but not really. I mean, we meld well together. We really do.
Right.
But when I talk about tech stuff, well,
Mm.
she doesn't understand it. Is
Right.
because I go. Most people don't. I mean, I could talk to computer geeks all day long. We would all get it.
I have a hard
But
time
I
keeping
can
up
go
with you
over your head plenty of times.
easily, for
Yeah.
sure. But then
So
here, okay, I'll let you
right.
finish that, and then I've got another
Well,
question.
yeah. So with that, I mean, so it's just the whole. She just doesn't understand what I'm trying to say and how I'm trying to say it,
Okay.
because in their in the mindset of Thai, it's like, what's the freaking deal? What's the big deal? Whatever.
So then the other thing, and you've kind of answered this, but let me ask it anyhow, and that is it a matter of just not having the right words, not having the language to be able to communicate? First of all,
Mostly.
we'll go with that. And then the second thing
Mhm.
is the fact, though, that even if she doesn't necessarily get 80% of it, it's still a relief, though, right? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, yeah, it does help. It does help. But when we talk about some of the stuff, like the mental health stuff that you and I talk about, I just don't think they don't get it. I mean, it is a lot of people in Thailand. They just don't. They don't. It's like, why is that a problem? What's the problem? It's like life is, it's like chicken soup for the soul. It's like that's little things. We don't worry about those things.
Right, right, right. So
You
I
know?
think that a lot of this stuff, and I don't know who has said it the most or where I first heard it or whatever, but like we've made it, we as Americans or whoever
Yeah.
have made a society that we can't live in.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? With the Industrial Revolution and so on,
Oh
we've
yeah.
taken ourselves and stuck ourselves in cubicles or boxes where we're locked away.
Ugh.
Then culturally, we don't necessarily talk. We
Yeah.
don't encourage to share opinions. I think that's what part of this is. What you and I are doing is talking to
Yeah.
each other, and
Yeah.
hopefully, by extension, helping other people then too.
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah,
I hope so. And speaking of, I want to go a little bit down on you talk meltdown, or what was the other word you used? Panic attack.
panic attack.
Because when I see meltdown, I see Karen crying,
Okay,
because she's not being heard. That's what I see as a meltdown. I
okay.
don't see you doing that. I think
You
I would word it more as the panic attack than
you
a
would well
meltdown.
that's it. You would never see
You.
90%. I would say you would never see me meltdown ever.
Right.
But doesn't matter. That's what's happening on the inside.
Okay, it's all
Inside,
on the
it's
inside.
all rage. It's flipping the table. It's just, and a lot of this though was
So
directed
you
at me.
kept it inside. You didn't
For
go.
sure, for sure.
You
I'm
didn't
not
go
gonna.
ballistic. Right.
No, no. But on the inside, those same things were happening. And I don't. My solution to those kinds of things is to withdraw or to leave. Like I said, my gut instinct was hop in the car, head back home as quick as I could, and get out of the situation if I could.
Yep.
Fight or flight. Those are the things that are triggered, and it's important to note that physiologically or biologically, it doesn't matter whether the hurt, the pain, the whatever is real or not. Our
Right. It's all in your
bodies
head. They
still
react.
react to it as though, and so I think that's a great point that you brought up. The fact that
Yeah.
even if
You
somebody
kept
doesn't
control.
seem that way,
Yeah.
you still might be feeling
That I'm proud of you because I wouldn't have blown up, but people would have seen my dismay.
it.
And it would have been at whatever level it happened to be that day. I don't hold it in.
Yeah.
I'm really, and again, in Thailand, that's a problem.
Oh,
Because
sure. Sure.
they are very courteous, very bottled up for some things. Like if you get even there's two apps I have to leave open on my phone. One's for my US number and one's for something else.
Mhm.
And my wife accidentally and habitually, she just accidentally closed them. I'm like, and I had a loud knee jerk reaction in a public place, and she's like, "What?" I'm like, "Nothing. No, that was just that was my knee jerk." Whew, they don't do that. That doesn't happen.
So let me ask you though, does that give you release? Because at one point, part of me wants to say, I wish I could be more like that, where I'd blow up and let things go. But do you let things go, or do you fester on them afterwards? After you've had that knee jerk?
For me, I go. We'll just say I regret many times what I've done.
Okay.
It feels good at the moment. It actually doesn't even feel good at the moment. It feels like I don't know what else to do. I need to be. It's the core of I need to be heard, and I want to be heard. Tell me you're hearing me, and I will get louder until you've told me that you heard me.
What?
And that's again, the wife is not very good at that. Neither is anybody in Thailand. They like if you look at I saw a post about some Thailand thing where in 7-Eleven, which there's like a dime a dozen here, and when you go in, like there's a Karen asking for a manager. There is no manager. They're all equals. They all make the decisions.
Okay.
And the Karen was, and the Thai person behind the cashier, behind the counter was just the entire time. Just I don't. And to me, I can't tell if you can hear me. I can't tell if you're mocking me in your head. And that's what's that. And the first thing that goes into my head is that you're mocking me.
Sure.
You
Yeah.
know, because I'm already in a bad mood. I'm already negative thinking, and it's a horrible situation. And that's something that here it has actually helped me realize when I'm there in that headspace.
Okay.
And I have been able to shut it down a lot faster than if I were in the US when people would be yelling back at me.
Sure. Because then you escalate
You
and so on. So, and I think
Yeah.
one of the underlying message of this
Yeah.
episode or whatever is self reflection, or maybe that's
Yeah.
parallel to what we're talking about too. Is you have to have some level of self reflection, and the more you
Yeah.
have, the better you're going to come off in the end. The better you can pull yourself out of this, or don't be afraid to ask somebody else for help.
Exactly. But don't ask it like me.
Don't ask it with rage in your heart.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Take the rage away. Try do everything you can. I don't know how people do it. I don't know how you do it. That's I don't know what part of my personality that is. Because
I think we
I
need
don't
to
think I
meet
was
somewhere in
that
the
way in
middle.
school.
What's that?
I don't think I was that way in school. I think I was always calm and just kept it to myself. And maybe at some point, and again, maybe I'll have to like do self hypnosis. I don't know, do something to figure out what triggered me to just start voicing my concerns at sometimes an inappropriate time.
Huh.
I can be inappropriate at times. Did you notice?
Nah, never.
Lies.
So,
Anyway.
So anyhow, yeah, because my mind immediately goes down the rabbit hole then of what questions to ask to get to the point where you felt
That
that
trigger.
louder expression was necessary.
And right now it's the first time I've actually ever thought about it, because I just realized that when you know me in high school or middle school, high school, and a couple days before that,
Yeah.
and I was the shy guy. I have a story to tell you that you don't know.
Tell me.
When I was in kindergarten, now you know my mom was a teacher. She was a Spanish teacher at this time in the high school.
Okay.
I was sick or something happened after kindergarten. I was in kindergarten really young, and I was in the morning session. And for some reason, my babysitter or whomever was supposed to watch me didn't show up. So my mom had to take me to class. Someone said hi. I sank under the desk until the end of the day.
That is not, you're talking about somebody else. You're not talking about anybody I know.
That was me. I mean, that's how, but you knew, I mean, I was probably getting out of my shell more in high school, but I was still not outspoken.
Okay.
You know?
Interesting.
So, but yeah, you definitely didn't see the super shy. I've always been shy. I mean, especially with pretty girls. I got over that eventually, kind of.
Okay. I've always been shy. We talked a little bit about this when you asked me about my coming up and my stuff. But I remember somebody else, and it's one of the first times that when I've said something in the past to somebody about getting mad. I've said something about feeling the uncomfortability that I'm feeling. And that person is like, what are you talking about? That's not you. And that was the first, one of the first times I really had an epiphany. The fact that my outside persona and my inside persona don't necessarily line up. That people, I looked at the wider world and said, oh, not everybody sees me the way I see me.
Yeah.
And that started, I guess I'm going to say, on the self-reflection and the perception. And I think we talked about the fact that the whole Rorschach inkblot, me misunderstanding that it was like, there's a disparity between what's actually happening and what people are saying and what reality is.
Yeah. And what is reality? That's a different question. That's a freaking series on itself.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
No, we could talk about, how many, I would like to know people in their own heads. I mean, because in your head you're a different person,
Sure.
and outside, depending on, and I've seen videos about this, when you're around certain groups of people, you're this personality, and then when you're at work, you're this personality, and when you're doing this, you're that. So how many of us are actually multiple personality disorder?
Perhaps
Most of
perhaps more than we care to
Yeah.
admit. Yeah.
I mean, I know that, and here's the other thing. As a young man, when I was in my 20s, 30s, even today, I wouldn't worry. I didn't really have a problem talking to anybody. I could, I had enough brain to not be stupid in front of someone like, an elected official or the CEO, but I could still talk to them, and I would talk to
Right.
them like a normal person. I don't kiss up to anybody.
Right.
But today, I don't know. Here's an example of the exact opposite. When there was a point in time, I was a contractor in Springfield, Illinois. The year was right before Obama got elected, whatever year that was, the first time. And I was in Springfield, Illinois, where there was a young new senator named Barack Obama. I was staying at a hotel that was right next to the Capitol building, and I used to go to the bar, not get too drunk most of the time, but just kind of hang out because I don't want to sit in my room.
Right.
And a guy comes up to me and says, "Hey, you want to meet the next president of the United States?" I said, "Nah."
No, I'm good.
Because when someone comes and says something like that to me,
Well, first of all, yes.
Instant cynic.
Yes.
I'm like, no, you're full of it. And then I realized, like a year later, dude, you were sitting where Barack Obama was. Who the hell do you think he was talking about?
Missed opportunities. What the heck?
Serious. I'm so bummed that, and this was, I think this was like right after this was before he declared that he was running for president. So, I mean, it was like, like a couple of months around that time.
Wow.
I'm like, oh. You talk about that's like one of the few things I regret. So now I try to say yes more often, but I still don't say it enough.
Yeah. And I think,
anyway.
well, that's another. I'm gonna have to write that topic down. Saying yes and expanding your horizons for sure. I'm looking at the time too, and I see we took this whole time just talking about my stuff, but that's fine.
No, we talked about me.
We did. We got a little bit of everything in there. And like I said, I think this is what we do here with unprofessional therapy is talk things out, share our experiences. Again, it's no degrees, just decades. So we've got the experience, and we're still learning, though. That's the key. Still learning.
Keep learning.
All the time. So with that, I will say thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this.
Subscribe.
Like, comment, subscribe, do all the YouTube stuff. Most importantly, though, I'm going to say share it with somebody else you think that it might make a difference.
That would be best.
That would be the best.
Thanks.
Thanks.